I will share my screen in a bit, but before that, thank you so much for the opportunity to connect with all the librarians here. I think I did a workshop or a webinar for librarians of all the DPS schools back in 2021. I think it was during COVID. So, and I think a lot of you might have met me or know me from my time at British Council, but those who do not know me, it's an absolute honor to talk to you today. I love talking to and working with school librarians because one of the most fond memories I have of a library was from my school time. I haven't found a more approachable librarian in my life after I graduated from school. So I think the role of a school librarian is absolutely critical in the kind of impression that a student carries about library and books in the rest of their lives. So that's why when Vikram approached me, I said, absolutely, we should do this. And as Vikram said, that this will be an informal session. I have prepared a few slides to take you through them and explain in a better manner. However, if you have any questions, we will have time at the end of the presentation to go through the questions one by one. So I will start with sharing my screen.
And by the time Anupama shares, I'll quickly jump in for one quick base of information. So me and Anupama, we were actually having this discussion that whatever we are teaching in college courses, preparing librarians for the real world. One big challenge that I have experienced is that these courses, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that these courses prepare librarians for either college level libraries or public libraries. But school libraries are very different because one big challenge is that in public libraries or college libraries, person has some idea what he or she wants. But in case of school library, you have to develop the interest of book. So college libraries and public libraries are the places where people are going to find some content and they know what they need. In school library, a child is just coming into the library because he has to, library period hai, and that's the duty of the librarian to develop that interest of books. So should the cataloging, arrangement, display be different from what you have learned in the college? And that's where Anupama comes into picture, and maybe she can take over and help you better. So Anupama, back to you.
Thank you. Is my screen visible to
To
everybody?
me, yes. And if in case anybody has any problem in viewing the screen or audio or something, you can either put in chat or raise your hand and we can talk.
Okay, so I will begin. We will talk about cataloging and shelving in a school library in the new age. So, before I start, a little bit about me. Um, there are two issues or current changes which are very close to my heart, and I like to volunteer or work on these. One is climate literacy, and another is animal welfare. So, in case any of you want to connect with me beyond libraries and librarianship, and you think that you have interest in both of these areas, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. At present, I'm the librarian at University of Southampton, Delhi, which is the first foreign higher education institution to open its campus in India under the new regulations of the UGC. And we have a UGC licensed recognition, which basically means that the degree which the students will receive at our campus will be the same degree that they will receive in the UK at the UK campus by University of Southampton, which is a Russell Group University, top 100 in the world. And it will also be recognizable in India. So that's there. Before this, I was at the British Council. I used to head the British Council Library and Cultural Center at New Delhi for about 7 years. Before that, I was at the High Court of Delhi. I was an assistant librarian in the Judges Library. I have done my BLISC and MLISC from University of Delhi, and I've been a gold medalist in both of them. Beyond this, I have also cleared my UGC NET GRF. It happened during my masters. It was only my first attempt, but yeah, that was another fun experience. So that's about me. Now the question is that when a child enters your library, what are they really searching for? If I sort of go back to my experience in the school library and as Vikramjit also mentioned, I wasn't looking for a specific code. I didn't know what DDC is. I didn't know what any other classification scheme is. I didn't know how the books were shelved. I was not searching for 823. I was perhaps searching for fairy tales, or for dragons, space, or friendship, or answers to the questions that I had. So, this entire session, I've kind of designed it to reduce that distance that we have between a child's curiosity and the book that they need. So, the premise of this entire session will be what is a child looking for in the library, and how can we as librarians bridge the gap between that child and the book that they want to have. So, as far as my knowledge goes, there are two main common models which are used in schools. One is any classification based method. It can be DDC, it can be CC, it can be any other classification scheme. And another is in an alphabetical order, wherein you use the first few letters of the author's surname. Now, sorry. I find that both of these methods are structured, both of these methods are highly logical. This is what is taught in library schools. But the question that remains is, do these methods support how children search or browse the library? So, we will do a little activity. Um, if a grade 4 student wants books on space exploration, where do you think they will go? So please use the chat box and type in your responses. I'm unable to see the chat box. Vikram, would you be able to relay whatever people write in the chat box to me?
Yeah, I'll do that. We have got a lot of good mornings, and Vibha ma'am just said general reference section.
General reference section. Okay. Anyone else who wants to say
So we've
something
got
beyond?
science by Vibhuti ma'am. Sima ma'am says shelf on space, science book, science reference section, science, space shelf, encyclopedia, science reference.
Yeah.
They go to the librarian or start looking at the shelves randomly.
Hmm. Okay.
Uh, 500 for science, science reference section. A lot of science that we are getting.
Right. So I think we now have a pattern. Students will either go to science, or they will go to the science section in the reference section, or they will randomly surf for book,
Yes, 500.
or
Or encyclopedias.
they will go to the librarian, and another is encyclopedia. Encyclopedia can be again a very sort of good point to introduce them to space exploration, but if they want to delve deeper into it, perhaps they will need something more specialized in that particular genre. Also, how do you shelve encyclopedia or any other resource for that matter is also kind of a question here. So very few people said that they will look for, say, a number like a 500, right? A lot of you said that they will go to the science section. Now that will happen only if we have a genre or a subject wide segregation. So I feel that this is a basic point where we agree that the child will go to the science section because it falls within that subject matter. Now, there are two things. There is organization and there is discoverability. Organization means that you have followed a particular internal classification method. As I said, it can be a classification scheme, it can be an alphabetical order, it can also be something else which you have found helpful in organizing your content in. That's for an internal order. Internal order in the sense that what will keep this library organized. Second is discoverability. This is from the point of view of the user. So, how easily can a user enter into your library and find a particular resource without much of a assistance? That's discoverability. So, a library can be perfectly organized, it can follow all the rules to the T, but it can still be very hard to navigate. So organization creates systems, but discoverability is basically what there's a very thin line, and that is what leaves an impression on the students, because there's something called learner autonomy, wherein a student can choose that what they want. Sometimes a student may even enter with absolutely nothing in mind, and they want to just browse and find something interesting. So this is where discoverability plays a very crucial role. Now we will understand what is it between how do the classification schemes work, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and the alphabetical order. So if we refer to classification schemes, it of course has strengths, right? It gives a logical subject grouping. So a lot of people said science and 500 in science. So there is a particular order and group which is created in a logical manner. It is the professional standard, and it is scalable, because any book that is added, any new section which is added, can be easily sort of classified through the classification scheme. But there are also limitations to it, especially from the school context, that you can only see like numbers, for example, and that becomes very abstract for students. They will not remember the numbers or the alphabets. Then, secondly, of course, it's weak for browsing, because we understand how have we followed the classification scheme and we've arranged them, but it becomes difficult for the user to understand that hierarchy or that logic. And the third is that fiction often is not very strong in these classification schemes. And a lot of readers start their reading journey or enjoy more fiction. And I think fiction has a very important part to play in anybody's reading journey. So this is, I feel, what is the how I see classification schemes. They definitely provide a map to your library, but this map is more feasible in a logical order, and children don't know it. So they think in themes, they think in stories. So it becomes difficult for them to discover resources. Now, if you have an author surname only system or any other alphabetical system which you're following, it's definitely simple to classify books in that way. It in especially in smaller libraries, it's very easy to classify them and put them in order like that. Uh, Reshelving becomes very easy. You need very low training to do for your staff, or if somebody new joins. But the limitations are that we assume that the student will remember the author name, right? Or it becomes, if there is no subject segregation. I've also heard that there are certain libraries who strictly go by surname, and there is no subject segregation, right? So then subject discoverability or genres segregation becomes problematic, which again brings us to a third point, where there is no genre clustering. You're just strictly doing a alphabetical order. Now, this again works beautifully if your students know what they're looking for, if they know the author, if they know the subject, if they know that this is the particular book that I need. But young readers and new readers, they don't really always remember the creator of the book. They usually remember the theme. So, the behavior reality, as I see in readers, is that they browse visually. Anything which catches their attention, they are happy to pick up. They search by ideas. So, today they are interested in, say, a DIY book. Tomorrow they will be interested in dragons. And the day after, they might find geography interesting. They also cluster by theme, so they can find two books which are related to each other, and they want to delve deeper into both of these things together. So, there have been enough research in behavioral design which shows that young readers rely on visual scanning and thematic grouping. If books on space, for example, as we took the initial example, if the books on space are scattered alphabetically, because majority, like number of authors have written books about space, but you have put them alphabetically, then again, there is a friction in browsing. Children will not find it very easily. So we talked about classification and shelving in new age shift. So what is new age shift? Firstly, from classification, which we're already doing, we have to move towards discoverability. From storage, which we want organized and which is a very good thing to do, we need to move towards experience of the students. And from control, we need to move towards access, because it's okay to not have all your books at the right places, and your staff has to do a little more to ensure that they're shelved together. But in today's age, in the digital age, our books are basically competing with digital content. They're competing with things like YouTube and Instagram and ChatGPT and search engines. So the advantage that we have is the physical feel of the book, right? And if the children doesn't find the book very quickly, then we're putting an advantage to the digital content, to the internet, and we don't want to do that, right? So, what I propose is a layered discoverability model. You don't have to replace your existing system. You have put in a lot of thought in how you curated it. It's perhaps working for your library, which is great. You just need to add layers to that system, and you are not going to sort of disrupt or restructure your library. You will be just thinking in layers. So for example, layer 1, you already have something like a ddc or a to z model. On top of it, you then club them genre wise, shelve them genre wise. On the third layer, you add theme tags to them, so like a science fiction, mystery, drama, plays, classics. So you add theme tags. On the fourth level, if you still want to go ahead, you can do a reading level. We did this in British Council during the COVID, because there were very few people coming in. So the staff had a lot of time. So I asked them that in the children's section, why don't we just sort of redo the entire thing, and we put it age wise, and younger the student, lower the shelf, and older the student, we go for top shelves. So it also becomes easier for them to physically access the book. And if you still want to go ahead, then you can try level 5, which is your visual display, which is basically where you're pushing the content to them. So you have themes and you're doing physical displays of those themes. So, like top 5, top 10, whatever you have, kind of display infrastructure you have, even a table will do. Then you go for visual displays. So, again, you're not replacing your system, you're just upgrading it. So, we will take an example of a fiction section. Now, if you had uh, done the fiction section in A to Z, for example, and it is by author's surname, you can now do it still stays A to Z, but within that, you do genre stickers, like, as I said, um, romantic, mystery, sci fi, and then you club them together. And you can do shelf markers, in which you put the right signage on the shelf to ensure that the students are able to find something in fiction. You can also then go ahead and you can do an age wise segregation, but then again, this will always be a phased approach. um, you can color code the genre stickers. We tried that in the British Council as well. We're doing it in my current library as well, because colors, they just pop up, so it's very easy for children to know that this color is for this genre. And we might underestimate it, but even one small visual layer can transform the kind of browsing experience that students have. Very frequently, if somebody goes to like a bookstore, a bookstore wants you to pick up books, right? And if you've gone to bookstores, you will see how they very innovatively put books together and they want you to pick books. So that's the kind of discoverability we want in a library. But of course, we are professionals, so we will do it in a much more organized way. Now let's take an example of a non-fiction section. So again, in a non-fiction, usually classification schemes work better because an author surname, I don't think will do justice to the system, because uh, it can get lost very easily, a non-fiction section, and DDC or any other classification scheme can be a better backbone for your non-fiction section. Here we can do thematic displays. Again, we can do genre-wise stickers. It's absolutely critical that you keep them genre-wise, like history together, science together, that way. Even within science, you can do like a biology, space, and all of that. So thinking from the children's point of view. And curriculum aligned tags. What do I mean by that is that you know which are the modules or the topics which are being taught to students. So if we can do any alignment within them and the books that we have, children have an opportunity to understand that particular module in a deeper way when they come to the library. So beyond their usual textbooks, they can go deeper and they can then explore that what are the other resources that my library has on that topic which is in my curriculum. So you can very well keep DV, but you can also highlight things like climate action or women leaders or space week, which I'm pretty sure that a lot of you would already be doing as well. So again, you are working in different layers. So children really don't, I think, care so much about how are we putting spine labels, which classification scheme are we using. They uh, are really looking for ideas, and we need to tell them that whatever idea you have in mind, we have a corresponding resource in the library, or this is the resource that we think you should read for you to be a better citizen, responsible human being, self-informed citizen, right? Now, to do another activity, you will again go to your chat boxes. And how many discoverability layers do you think right now exist in your library? You can type your responses in the chat. Uh, so take a minute, think about how many layers do you currently have. You might be having like a classification layer, but you also do displays, right? So that's two layers. So in the chat box, you can type how many layers you have currently. Vikram, if you can relay the results
Yes, I
to
can
me.
read 3 layers as first response. 4 layers. I think it will also be good to understand what are these 3 or 4 layers. So because we're getting a lot of 3 and 4 layer responses.
I will invite a few people
Sure.
in a few minutes. I will stop sharing and maybe they can share with us. The first three people who have put their responses in the chat box can also share with us what do they mean by these
Sure.
three layers. I'm just stopping the
So we've got
screen.
all 5 also. Reena Sain is saying fiction, non-fiction, reference, and prescribed. Sujata ma'am is saying color code for reading level, author, subject, series, publisher. Huh, that's interesting. So,
Okay. So,
you want
can
me
we
to invite
invite?
someone?
Yes, can we invite a few
The
people?
first response was by Miss Vibha Mishra. Vibha, ma'am, you want to come forward and share the 3 layers that we were talking about?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
I'm actually in my library. I have used DDC as a main structure order.
Right. And
Okay, in the first layer.
Okay.
Afterward, I will differentiate my fiction, non-fiction and fiction in according to their genre. मतलब
Okay.
adventure है कि fiction है कि comedy है कि drama है.
Right.
According to that, I have separated this.
Fantastic.
Afterward, I have tagged in non-fiction and fiction and optional subjects वगैरह according to that. And
Very
reading level and did not use a visual display. They did not like differentiate according to the level. Grade 1 की books अलग हैं, grade 2 की books अलग हैं, grade 3 की books अलग हैं. After grade up to grade 6, I have joined all the sections.
I think this is a very good practice. Which school are you representing, Vibha, if I may
Freedom
ask?
Word School, BKT branch.
Okay, it's lovely to know.
Hmm.
Thank you.
एंड मैंने विजुअल डिस्प्ले में जो टैग होते हैं ना वो उसके बुक्स के स्पाइन में लगाने वाले वो
Hmm.
डिफरेंशिएट किए जैसे वाइट का मैंने किया है जो विच आई हैव एक्सप्रेशन इन एक्सटेंशन रजिस्टर एंड
Hmm.
कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री बुक्स के लिए वी हैव टेकन अनदर टैग.
Okay. And which is it's of a different color?
यस मैम, ऑरेंज और पिंक.
Okay, so I think you have many more layers than three then.
यस मैम.
Perhaps you only need to introduce a visual display, or
Anupama, I
maybe
think I can jump in here a bit because I have had some experiences while working with different school libraries and I've been visiting libraries all over India. There are some common things that we see when it comes to school libraries. I can see that most of the school libraries have organized, so they always have academic and non-academic. There is a clear separation between academic and non-academic books. That's always there. That's one. Other than that, within academic, there are always, in every single case I've found, maths books are separate, science are separate, and then there are grade wise. So all the 12th grade books are over here, in which maths and science and English, that kind of arrangement is already happening in schools. When it comes to non-academic book, that's where fiction, non-fiction, all these differentiations happen, and that's where whatever you have suggested, that is there. I have picked up a few points, and before we open the floor for further discussion, question, answer, and all, I want to raise one thing which I have personally felt. For example, you mentioned that there should be this age-wise classification, which is a very good thing, and we have been requesting schools to please make sure कि छोटे बच्चों की किताबें किस हाइट पे है, बड़ों की किस हाइट पे, you keep that in mind. However, I have also seen in many cases books that are meant for younger children up till grade 4 or 5, they are in the absolute other corner, while books that are meant for 11, 12, that are in absolute other corner. That has to do with space also, obviously. But in my personal experience, what I found was that children from grade 8, 9, 10 do not go in that direction, because then they are like, others will be, my other friends will start leg pulling, oh, to chote bachcho ki kitabein dekh raha hai. Whereas there are kids in grade 7, 8 also who want to pick up a grade 2 book. And
yeah.
I have also seen in some cases, not pointing at anyone, but there are librarians that I have actually interacted with who are like, बच्चा ये आपकी मतलब की किताब नहीं है, आपकी बिग बॉयज वाली बुक्स उधर पढ़ी हैं, जाओ, you have to read those. So I think there is a mindset shift that is also required, and the cataloging or the arrangement of the books have to be such that there is no clear barrier between ages or even genres कि वो उधर जाते हुए उसको लगे that I'm going into an alien territory and I'm not supposed to be there. So we
Yeah.
probably can find some solution for that as well.
I am very glad that you brought it up. I want to show you something. I have actually my personal collection behind me,
Uh-huh.
and I'll show you a book which is very interesting. Okay, so this is a book. It's called El Defo. This is
Uh-huh.
actually for children,
Okay.
but I bought it for myself.
Wow.
I was, I believe I was 27 at that time.
Uh-huh.
And what struck me in this book was that it's a comic book, right? It's really
Lovely.
nice. It's beautiful.
So nice.
The subject of the book is that the protagonist can't hear anything. She's deaf,
Oh.
right? So the book has been made keeping in mind how do we build empathy in younger children about being with their companions who have different, requirements, who have different requirements than them. Some cannot hear, some cannot speak. So we have this tendency of segregating people, right? They can't hear, so it'll be very difficult for me to talk to them.
Yeah.
Why do I need to put in effort into learning a few things about sign language, right? like good morning, thank you, sorry, all of us can do, right? Not that big a deal. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I bought it for myself. I haven't given it away to anybody yet because I thought that I needed this. And in the last few years, when I was at British Council, I have been reading children's books because now I read them from a very different mindset altogether. I also read Jack and the Beanstalk,
Yeah.
and I found it to be some things to be problematic. So I've written a blog about it as to why I will not prescribe it to people. So the mindset shift that you're talking about is the main thing that we have to do as librarians. That's our social job. So what I can suggest librarians to do is that I'm sure there are these library periods which are still there. So maybe we can do something like everybody comes in, like all class 7th, 8th students come in, but the librarian has curated a session where we are giving them younger people's book, everybody,
Yeah.
and they read it, and then they do a small discussion as to, oh, I read it when I was in junior thing, but this is what struck me, this is what is different now, this is how I think I have evolved.
That's a
So
good
these
idea.
are like small sessions which we can do with students, which will change their mindset, because we don't want our students to be people who bully other people, right?
Yes.
That's just a non-human thing to do. So, any challenge which we see is a behavioral thing, has to be normalized if we want it to not be a taboo. So, I always
Anupama,
say
what
that,
you said actually not only makes sense. I've got additional point here. Usse pehle, because that additional point will cover one more thing that you have mentioned. Uh, you are halfway through. That is change in interest. A child when picks up a book, starts reading, and there are so many cases that we know. If a child is reading Geronimo Stilton for next 2 years, he will continue with that. उसके बाद वो bore हो जाएगा और that child leaves reading completely instead of reading Geronimo and moving to something else. वो reading ही छोड़ देता है. किताब नहीं छोड़ता, टाइटल नहीं छोड़ता. So
yeah,
that fluctuation in interest is something where a librarian has to play a very crucial role. So this one point that you mentioned, we force everybody for a short duration, maybe even not entire period, I would say, let's first 15 minutes please browse this section only. आज
yeah,
के दिन का
absolutely,
ये टास्क है, once in a month or 2 months छोटे बच्चों वाली किताबें देखो, something like that. But
absolutely.
any suggestions for interest and how when interest change, or even if you have, because like as a librarian you might see signs that this child has started getting bored by these titles और ये खत्म होने वाले हैं जो इसने पढ़ लिए थे और उसके बाद अब नया कुछ नहीं है करने को.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what do you recommend for that?
I believe that firstly, a librarian, so I understand the librarians have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of administrative work to do. They are also given additional responsibilities in school. I don't think that the work of a school librarian is easy at all. And all salute to them for doing it. I feel that my job is much easier than what they do. Uh, but having said that, it's the nature of our job to do some kind of analysis of how the user behavior is. It's also something that we learn at the library school. User behavior is very critical if you want your resources to be used properly. So if you're using a software, you can see circulation patterns. If you're using a register, you can see circulation patterns. You can see browsing patterns. It's again, this I would call this a behavioral intervention, wherein you talk to students in a group activity that can be done. I'm not sure how long or short library periods are nowadays, but as you said, that in the initial 10 minutes, can we do an activity wherein we are asking everybody to write the genre that they're most interested in on a piece of paper, and then ask them to exchange them, or give them like a challenge that in the next 1 month, can you read a book in another genre and explore. So if fiction is, for example, my favorite genre, I am given a challenge that you pick up any other genre except fiction, and you do one book from that genre in the next month. So it isn't, because of course if they don't like that genre too much, the reading speed will be slow, they will take time to acclimatize to it. But if we give them as a challenge, and they get like a small star at the end, they have like a library card in which you put a star that you have gone beyond your comfort zone, and reward them in these small manners, I think that can be a good, sort of initiative to introduce them to beyond their comfort level, which I think is very, very important if we need holistic development of children.
Okay, I have got so many more ideas which I really want to talk about. लेकिन मैं अभी रुक जाऊंगा because then we'll not have time for question answer. There is one experiment that we did in some of the schools under Liberation, which was very successful, and we were actually able to work around this whole thing that we are just discussing. But then it will become a podcast and not a two-way workshop. So I'll open the floor if anybody has any question. You can either raise your hand, unmute and speak, or you can type your question in the chat.
I was wondering, should we just wait till the end? I have just a few more slides
Oh, so
to.
I'm so sorry. I thought, yeah,
No
yeah,
problem.
definitely.
No problem. I'll just go back to my slides. We're almost through them.
Okay.
Right. So we've done this activity. So yes, a few things that I want to say about designing shelving spaces. I, in my experience, have found that face out display, in which you have the cover of a few books in your shelf out, do a lot of work for just brightening up your shelves, brightening up your space, and also luring kids to pick books up. Age zoning, we've already talked about, I think is very critical, and the height of the shelves. Thematic book displays, I call them thematic islands, super important. And we should have flexible shelves in the sense that uh, infrastructure is always a problem in school libraries. But if you can move a few shelves around, people will not be stuck like in a zone. They would know that the shelving keeps changing, or there is some change in the floor layout after a few months or every year. Then that will keep them on their toes. Their I see shells as basically like psychological signals. So I feel that a face out book has a lot more chance to get picked up than a spine out book, right? So visibility is super important if we want to influence behaviors. Um, Another point which is super important for librarians is to support reluctant readers, right? So discoverability becomes even more crucial if you want reluctant readers to start reading. These can be your younger children, these can be also children who do not have English as their first language, can be neurodivergent students. So it's very, very important that we do not, stick to rigid systems, because rigid systems are especially good for confident readers, as I said, who know what they're looking for or who know how to explore books. But reluctant readers won't do that. If they don't get something, they will just sit quietly and take anything that comes to them. So this actually affects the chances which a student has in a long term spaced horizon. So that's also something which is another angle to this entire discussion. And as I briefly touched upon, you have to use your data smartly. I would highly, highly recommend that. I'm pretty sure there's some circulation method which you're following in your library, can be analog, can be digital. You please track your genre circulation rates. You track your dormant sections which are not working that well. They don't get picked up too much. You do displays around them. Displays impact a lot. So please ensure that if you can at any level incorporate this, I think that'll be great. So we'll do another very small exercise. Again, you have to type in the chat box. If you had zero budget, which I'm pretty sure you would have, what is the one thing that you would want to improve in the next month? So please type in your responses in the chat. One thing which you would want to do in the next month with zero budget, existing resources.
Orientation program.
Fantastic pick.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Anything else?
Book pooling.
Book pooling. That's interesting. Maybe the person can describe it a little more.
Yeah, Sujata ma'am, please do add a few more lines. What do you exactly mean by book pooling? But I think it's very close to what Vibha Mishra ma'am is also saying. We can initiate students and staff to donate books
Right.
to the library.
Yeah.
Then we have book discussion. विभूति मैम नेक्स्ट मंथ मार्च है एग्जाम्स होने वाले हैं डिस्कशंस वैसे ही नहीं होंगी बट या नो नो द वैलिड पॉइंट
Yeah.
बुक डिस्कशन बुक ऑन न्यूज ओके
So I think they're talking about whatever is in the current affairs they can
हाँ
do
okay yeah right oh yeah right
related display.
displays as suggested books donating and sharing pool of book from children of course yeah book talks so yeah more or less okay I have personally felt when you talk about book donation or ask children to bring in books many schools have done it and I have personally experienced बच्चों का ध्यान इस चीज में रहता है ये किताब मैं लेकर आया था ये मुझे क्या वापस मिलेगी या हाउ इज इट बीइंग ट्रीटेड this is mine I've seen it in many schools that how those books actually work and people those who love books don't part away with books so वो किताबें लेके आ रहे हैं जो they are going to throw away any which ways so when you try to pull in books from students and teachers the best of best doesn't enter the pool is what my experience so far has been
Mm.
class libraries is one of the suggestions.
Mm. Class libraries, you mean pop-up libraries in the
Pop-up
classes?
library would actually. So I think maybe book pooling can work if it is a temporary book pooling because now the child knows that this book will come back to me, so he will be more open to bring best of his material or best of his collection.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Good point.
okay, yeah. Vibha Mishra ma'am says that we can put child's name that who donated that book. Books
Yes,
on
yes.
display, the least used books. The least used books, yes.
That's
Those
a
books can
very
come
good.
on front display and we can do special sessions around them or talks around them.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Very, very good idea. Okay, so here is the five-step action framework which I propose. You can take any part of it, you can take no part of it. You might be doing everything which is in this framework already. But I suggest that you observe how students search your library. How do they browse, right? You will start to see patterns. You keep a timeline, say a week, 2 weeks, 1 month. Patterns will start emerging. And then you identify what are the friction areas. Are people not able to go beyond what is meant for them? Are people not able to browse nonfiction books very easily? You'll be able to identify friction areas. Then you add just one discoverability layer, right? Just one small improvement, one section. Start with just one section. Then you communicate this change to the stakeholders. So these can be your school leadership. You track circulation before that change and after that change, and then you measure the impact of that change. I would never propose this to be a chaotic exercise. You don't need to do that. Always start small. Start with just one section, adding layers to that, and see how does the user experience improve. So this is a very, very simple framework. Anybody can do it. You would need to take it as a project, really, and design your steps, and then very, very religiously put in data. But it will tell you whether this entire project works for you or not. So this is not like a straitjacket solution to every problem that you have regarding this theme, but I think this can be a very, very good starting point, like a template which you can follow. And this basically brings me to my last slide, which I personally feel that we are not, a library is not a warehouse of books. We're not storing books. It's a behavioral ecosystem. I am giving subtle behavioral science to my students, that you're safe here. You can go out of your comfort zone. You're happy to experiment. I'm there to support you. So it's a behavioral ecosystem. These are the signs which the students will take with them in the next, years that they have ahead of them. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure, and I am happy to take questions. And yeah,
Your last slide was actually amazing. There are libraries which are being treated as warehouses. I have seen there are books, academic books, which were used like 15-20 years back, and they are still on the shelf. They should be in the warehouse, that in case someone like computer COBOL and Visual Basic 5.0, which is totally obsolete, and
Yeah,
those thick books are also consuming shelf space, whereas
true.
they are not being read anymore. So we
Yeah.
can, utilize that space better. That's where the librarian has to come into picture. Seema ma'am asked, could you please explain about pop-up libraries? So Anupama, you can give more details, but I just want to add one thing. As Liberation, we have been doing this. We set up reading lounges, which is more like a pop-up library. We just bring in all the material, put it there, and we ask kids to come, sit, read, and we don't encourage them to buy those books. We just tell them, just come, read, and go back to your class. But the same can be done with the students with their books. And Anupama, if you want to elaborate it a bit more.
Yeah, pop-up libraries, basically the principle remains that instead of your main home, you are taking a collection of books and taking it to another place altogether where people otherwise will not find it. So, for example, at British Council, if we are taking books from here to, say, a residential society where people will not easily find it, that's a pop-up library. So within your school ecosystem, if you want to do this, then instead of just the library, you also get into some other very high traffic area and you put a few shelves there, but you will also have to see how the design works and the books do not get disappeared. So with that, the idea of pop-up library is that you are basically taking the content away from its natural home into a new territory where people are more likely to find it. People who might not even come to the library will be able to find it.
Any questions from anyone? Hema ma'am has asked, will there be a recording? Yes, we are recording this. We'll put it on YouTube. And she also says, I would say this, in my opinion, to have our own lesson plan. This was when you were discussing the final steps. So every librarian must create their own lesson plan. In fact, one of the workshops we can do on lesson plans. So after this meeting, I'll put this message in the group asking you all what next you want to do, and we'll plan accordingly. So yeah, any questions? Anyone? So if there is no question, maybe we can take the other route, where you can also share something, the kind of practices that you have been doing and the way. So this whole Anupama, the one you mentioned, that you can put colored stickers or something like that. I have seen it in few libraries. Dr. Chavi Jain is here. She has been doing it in a very nice manner. In fact, our last workshop was in Manav Rachna, Gurgaon, where all the librarians gathered, and we actually saw how they are organizing everything in the library. And even the nomadic books box that we send, which is random books that we send to every school for 3 months, and then we replace it with other books just to see what kids enjoy. Usme bhi we have seen Chavi ma'am putting all those colorful stickers and tapes. So ma'am, if you want to add something to it, or any other teacher, if you want to add something to it.
I also want to add that, any of the steps that I've proposed today need not be, very cost intensive,
Yeah.
I feel. So if you're working with, say, colored sheets and a normal adhesive tape, that would solve your problems for stickers. You can also, if you're starting with just one section, you can also involve your students in it and ask them a few ideas, and can they like hand draw something and paint something. So I feel that once you make a community which kind of cares about your library, it's easier to brainstorm ideas and get some volunteers to do the work for you, because as I said, librarians are very busy people. um, if you want a forest not to be cut, it has to be there has to be a community which looks after it. And if you want a library to, thrive and shine, there has to be a community behind it. So it's super important that you connect to your students. They care for the library, because it's not just the librarian's job to care for the library, it's everybody's job.
अनुपमा, एक चीज और मेरे माइंड में आई very quickly. I can ask. Meanwhile, we have one question from Ms. Hema. Your suggestion for issuing books. Issuing books should start from which grade? What do you say?
Issuing books in the sense that uh, I think they're referring to some idea that I gave during the talk to take home.
Yeah, to take home.
I feel as early as possible
Yeah, I think they
because
should be allowed here.
they should have the accountability and the responsibility
Yeah.
of taking care of a book,
Yes,
bringing it back in the same shape.
right.
Yeah? Again, a behavioral thing which we put into them that I'm trusting you with this book. This is a community book, and you will come back and give this book in its current shape and form. So I think the sooner we do it, the better.
And there is one more point that I want to ask. We will take a few more minutes. In many libraries, in many schools that I've seen, larger schools, there are multiple libraries, as in multiple physical libraries. For example, DPS Gurgaon, it's on different floors. So when we say कि छोटे बच्चे और बड़े बच्चों की किताबें मिक्स कर सकते हैं, where elder kids can also browse books for younger kids, they don't even have that access because of the space constraint. They have to keep those books which are more relevant to them. Any suggestion for that? What we can do where different libraries are situated in different corners of the campus?
Pop-up library.
That will be a good idea.
Takes few books from the junior section, put them in the senior section. Some interesting books from the senior section, put them in the junior section, and see what happens. How is the uptake? Do an activity around it. So, something which I learned at my previous organization is that the more activity focused you are as a librarian, the more students are open to exploring the collection and getting to know you better. So I think it's another, like, programming is another angle to librarianship altogether.
Thank you, ma'am. But we have 3 libraries, and we keep, like in middle library also, we keep some books which are of grade junior level, so that those children also can get the access of those books. Like um, this um, Geronimo we are not keeping. Few we have started keeping right now. Apart from that, Wimpy Kid we have started keeping in middle school library also, so that children feel connected that
Right.
there are certain books which are of their age group, because the level of the reading level of the children are different.
But
In
Vibhuti ma'am,
each.
if you remember, I did one workshop in your junior library. Alpana ma'am was there, and these
Yes,
kids. So I don't think you have Harry Potter in your junior and grade 5. The response
that
that they
is
gave,
there, sir.
Yeah,
It
we
is
have
there.
Harry Potter.
Ashok, because the response that I
It
got on
is
Harry
there.
Potter was very different.
And sir, sorry to interrupt you. When children shift to like after fifth, they are going to class 6 library. They come to me ki I want this book to read, so I issue them.
All right. Oh, okay.
So many children they miss when they go to middle library. They miss.
Sometimes this also happens.
Right.
In my
We are
school,
like we
grade
can
third
issue to
students,
everyone.
they
No?
can read Harry Potter books. In third student, I mean, the grade third student, they can read all series of Harry
Yes,
Potter books.
very much interested.
Nice.
Class
That's
3
nice.
students, they want
Class 3 onwards,
want.
they start reading Harry Potter. Until class 10, they keep on reading Harry Potter.
Oh,
So
interesting. Those who are
Some of
different,
them.
different reading level.
okay, in that case, I have to share something. This week, another series of Harry Potter books is being released, which is only for
Oh,
junior
great.
kids. This week,
Okay, thank you, sir.
release part is release function is happening. Book release is happening this week
Okay,
only. So next week
great,
onwards, it will
great,
start coming to schools.
great. And
It's only for
thank you,
junior.
sir, for certificates and all Harry Potter week जो we have celebrated. Thank you
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much. Children are
Thank
so
you.
happy.
I'm so glad. So, any other question
The
or?
certificates are really very good. And the stamp which you have put on that.
Thank you.
Ah,
So
that's
that's the
why.
idea. You know, how do you engage kids and how do you make it more interesting for them?
नहीं,
So
I am
those
just
small things.
just I want to speak. अभी we have made the chart. These books made us like उसमें faces बना दिए. They are putting up. The session is ending. They are writing the name of the book. This book made us feel happy. This book made us feel laugh. So many children are very enthusiastic. I'll show you the chart. Neetu ma'am, show the chart. You can see.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Kenneth, they are very happy in doing this activity.
Right.
Keyboard books.
आपको कैमरा थोड़ा नीचे करना पड़ेगा, कैमरा ज्यादा ऊपर था, we couldn't see properly.
दिख रहा है?
Yeah, now it's better. All right.
एक
Got it.
मिनट में चेंज करते हैं. चलो ठीक है, नहीं हो पा रहा. क्या हो गया क्लास?
So anyways, we are almost out of time. Maybe if any question or in last point. If not, then I think it has been a lovely session. Anupama, thanks a lot, because this was really wonderful, and I think everybody has benefited. We can read in the chat as well how much they enjoyed. There are this has been my experience working with schools, that although everybody is learned, they all know that this is what is to be done, but sometimes the system has become such that either they don't get time to implement it, or when a librarian joins, if something has already been happening, it is easier for them to continue in that way. And librarians in many cases have been reduced to a clerk who can only do issue and return or maintain the stock in the library, which is a very unfortunate thing, whereas librarian or the core librarian should be the one only talking to teachers, students, where helping them understand kaun si kitab leni hai, kaun si nahi leni. There is one more point that I want to have a discussion on, not today, but we will probably have a separate session for that. And I think, Anupama, you're the best person to come for that one also, that in this modern times when, again, technology is taking over, we are working hard to develop the habit of reading, which we will continue to do. Do we really need full-fledged proper displays in the traditional manner with either DDC or whatever classification scheme you pick? Or can technology help us in some manner where shifting behavior and मेरे को आपका आइडिया बहुत पसंद आया कि अगर वो अलमारी वहां पर एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करती जब वो अगली बार वो बच्चा आए, वो सारी किताबें कहीं और जा चुकी हैं, नाउ दे हैव टू roam around and see. And I all I could think was कि DPS गुड़गांव में तो ये बहुत आराम से हो सकता है, because their library itself is a maze. The way things are, I mean, it can be converted to a maze if we want to, although they've kept it very simple. And many other such ideas were coming to my mind. So how can technology help in a library where they don't get dependent on technology? So I'm strictly against e-readers, but still maybe some sort of digital displays or something, or anything that can come in, how feasible it is, because putting up a digital display is also big cost to school, और कोई भी एक display नहीं लगाएगा खाली बुक का cover दिखाने के लिए. So it has to be something more fruitful, more powerful. Maybe we can have a discussion around that in one of our coming sessions. But for today, I must say this was lovely. I also got to learn many new things, and hopefully we will continue this conversation with some other topic very soon.
Yes, absolutely. It was a pleasure being here and talking to everybody. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here.